Hi and welcome to the sew along for the Lucy tea dress. So there's two ways of sewing this garment. There's option A and option B. I'll show you how to sew them both during the course of this video. So this is a knit pattern, so I've made it with 6mm 1/4 inch seam allowances. So when you're ready, set your overlocker up with 4 threads of colour that match your fabric and set your stitch width up to 6mm 1/4 inch. Don't forget to test stitch on spare fabric before you begin. You're also going to need to know a way of sewing the hems. So a twin needle in a domestic sewing machine or one of the hemming stitches is a good idea, or if you have a cover seamer, that's great too. And don't forget to put a ball needle in your machine and lengthen your stitch length from normal. So because I'm sewing basically both dresses in one video, to make it easier, the boxy tee is black with floral sleeves, and then the tie front tee is a light grey colour. So just jump over any parts of the video you don't need. So let's start with the pocket. So this is our pocket piece. It's a rectangle. And on 2 of the sides you'll see a small notch at the top. So that notch shows us the fold position for the top of the pocket. So what we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to overlock this edge here, closest to the notch edge, and then we'll jump over to our iron and give it a press. Alright, so apologies, this is in the black, hopefully you'll be able to see it. So we've overlocked that edge closest to the notch, and what I've done is I've gone and turned and pressed that at the notch. So that's 2 centimetres, which is 3/4 of an inch. So now we need to run 2 lines of stitching directly through the overlocking to secure the pocket top down. So while I was at the iron, what I also did was I turned in the other 3 edges by 1 centimetre. So that's so we can get our pocket ready to go. So this is the front of my garment, right side up, with the neckline up here and the hemline down here. And these marks here, I hope you can see them, are the drill hole positions. So I turned this under by 1 centimetre, which is 3/8 of an inch, all the way around those 3 sides. So to get this in the right place, what you have to do is imagine a point 1 centimetre in and 1 centimetre down from each finished corner. So that is 3/8 of an inch. And then that point there will sit directly on top of the drill hole like that. So what we need to do now is go around each of the other corners and place this in the correct position. So you just imagine that point, 1 in, 1 down, 3/8 of an inch in and down, and put that on top of the drill hole. Now it's more important we get the pocket flat than you have this perfectly positioned, because it's very easy when we're sewing knits for markings to move around. So in this case, near enough is good enough, and what we're looking for is just a nice flat pocket on top of the front. Okay, so when you're ready, you can stitch that into place. I'm going to edge stitch it, which literally means just stitching on the edge, making sure we back tack. And so my edge stitch is, it's not even a millimetre, so it's under 1/16 of an inch. It's just using the edge of the presser foot as a guide to stitch around the edge. When I get to the corner, I'm going to stop with the needle down in my work, lift, turn and pivot. And then just rearrange everything so it's nice and flat. I'll keep sewing. Lift, turn and pivot. So just because I want a nice finish to that pocket, I'm going to stitch another line of top stitching exactly parallel to the first. You certainly don't have to. I find it will reinforce things a little bit more. But before you go any further, give that a press and then continue on with the garment. So here are the side tie pieces. Now this is for the back tie. So what we're going to do is place them right sides together. And you can see they're sort of in a triangular shape. We want to leave this flat edge open so that we can turn this through. So what we want to do is overlock down both sides. So when you're ready, and there'll be a notch to match part way down on both sides. And then turn that through so that wrong sides are together. And make sure that you push it out as far as you can, because we want the ends of that to look really tidy for our garment. So just take your time. Don't be tempted to put a needle, a knitting needle or something sharp in there. Never ever push out your points with a pair of scissors or anything like that. You'll end up just piercing your fabric. All you need to do is just take your time and pinch it out. And if you feel it needs it, you could go to your iron and give it a press. What we're looking for is just making sure those edges are just fully pushed out on the sides. Okay, so here is my garment front, and if we come down on the left hand side as you're wearing it, you have this extension piece here, which is the tie. So what we want to do is we want to fold this so that we have right sides together, like so. So what we're doing is folding the garment right sides together. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to overlock from here to the end. So just make sure it's all nice and tidy. Now if you struggle going this way, it's perfectly fine to go that way. So I'll start from the point and work back towards the folded edge there. So that's what we're looking for, like that. Alright, so now we need to do this other side. So start at the point again. And once you've done a few stitches, you'll find it easier to hold. So come down and match that entire side. What we're going to do is we're going to overlock down here, which is the side of the tie, and then off through here to the edge, which is going to be the side seam. There's a notch to match here. So now you're going to approach an edge that's got a curve in it. So just straighten this out to sew it in a straight line as much as you can. Match the next notch here. And then check your work and check you haven't done what I've just done here. If you have, do it again. Okay, so we're going to turn this through. And just like we had the tie on the other side, just make sure you push it out. And if you feel the need to, give it an iron to give it a really good press. So here is our neckband piece. The first thing we need to do is fold it right sides together and overlock this short edge here. So now fold it so that wrong sides are together, and then just pop that away somewhere safe and we'll sew it on later. Okay, so now we're going to complete the shoulders. This is my front and it's right side up, and here is my back and it's right side down, and you'll do this the same for either version. So place those shoulders together and just overlock across one side and then the other. So normally now I'd do the sleeves, but I just feel like doing the neckband. So let's turn this around so that the front's at the front and the back's at the back, and take the neckband that you prepared earlier, and if you remember we folded it so it was wrong sides together. So the seam line matches to the middle of the double notches which show us the centre back. So, oh excuse me, this is our position here. If you can tell, I've managed to catch a cold, so I'll apologise if my accent is even worse than it normally is. Okay, so as we come around to the side there's a notch, and so if we fold that wrong sides together, that notch will match to our shoulder seam, which needs to face towards the back, like so. And then as we come around we have our next notch, which is for the centre front. And then the last one, of course, is the other shoulder. So now start overlocking. It's a good idea to start somewhere around that shoulder. Probably not on the shoulder, just to one side or other of it. And then just stretch that neckband to fit between those notch positions. Make sure you take out your pins. Right, so now we're going to sew the sleeves, and you have two sleeves. They're a pair, which some people call a mirror, so one's been cut out this way and one's been cut out this way. So if we look at the sleeve, there's a small notch at the top which needs to match to our shoulder seam, and then we have a notch down one side which shows us the back of the sleeve, and that will match to the notch on the body. So when you pick up a sleeve, you have a 50-50 chance that you're going to get it into the right side of the garment at the correct time. So what we do is take your garment and place it right side up. So here is my notch, so I know this is the back. And then take the sleeve and place that right sides together, and then just match that notch. So that's the way you know that sleeve is in the correct side. So we're going to overlock that together, and you need to stretch the sleeve to fit between the notch positions. Okay, so when you've got one sleeve finished, go ahead and repeat this for the other sleeve. So now it's time to sew the side seams. Now when we're sewing the side seam, if you're sewing the tie front version, we also have to put the side tie in at the same time. So place your garment right side up, take your tie, and in the very centre of the tie here there's a notch, and that notch needs to match to the seam line here. So when you've got that in the correct place, just hold that into place with a pin before we sew the side seam, and that will just remind you it's got to be overlocked in at the same time. So it doesn't matter which version you're sewing now, we're going to place our garment right sides together, and it's a good idea to start from the sleeve hem area. Although it doesn't really matter as long as your seam directions are the same. So if you're sewing from the sleeve hem to the hemline, make sure you sew the other side exactly the same way. When you're sewing garments, it's always a good idea to keep the seam direction going. So always sew from the neck to the hemline, or the hemline to the neck, it doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. So as we pass the underarm, make sure the seams sit on top of each other. And then we're going to approach the area that our tie is, like this. Just get a little closer. So both the front and the back, this has a notch here, which will match to the double notch there, which matches to the notch on the other side. So we want all of those layers sitting together like so, and just be a bit gentle. It shouldn't be too bad for your overlocker to go through, but just take your time. We want to make sure we catch everything in that seam allowance as we go down. Make sure you take out that pin. We don't want to sew over our pin. And now just do the same seam on the other side, and the other side you'll find nice and straightforward because in both versions it's just a straight sew. So all that remains now is to do the sleeve hems and body hem. So the hem allowance is 1.5 centimetres, which is 9/16 of an inch. So go ahead and use your cover seamer or your twin needle and do those hems now. Okay, so when you're hemming, it's a good idea to start from the side seam. The left-hand side seam is often the best one. Of course, you'll be using a cover stitch machine or a twin needle in a domestic machine, or one of the many stitches that you can use on a domestic sewing machine. And I'm just tucking the end of the overlocking into the seam to hide it. and I'm going to do a second row of stitching exactly parallel to the first and on the side of the fold, entirely up to you. So go ahead and do some quality control work, which means trim some threads. The seam allowance for the bottom hem and the sleeves is exactly the same. It's 1.5 centimetres, which is 9/16 of an inch. And when you finish that, give your garment a really good press and you're finished. So thanks for joining me. This is a really quick sew. I hope you enjoy these patterns. They're just really easy summer, quick sew, slip-on dresses that'll make you feel great. So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and join my Facebook pattern discussion group, and I'll see you again soon for my next sew along.